Hi-ya!
Pow.
It's finally happening, guys! We Bears, the movie. My favorite show that nobody talks about is finally getting its own extended adventure. And as a fan of the franchise since it first aired in 2015, I see no better way to get pumped up and build hype than to binge watch as much of the show as I can before the film comes out. And of course, share my experiences and personal favorites with all of you. As far as my general thoughts on We Bears are concerned, I consider it to be a funny, chill, and rewatchable show that I'm happy to put on whenever I want to smile. At its roots, the show is not especially unique or different, just three bears trying to integrate into human society, but due to their offbeat personalities, lack of understanding on certain things, and of course being freaking bears, it's difficult for them to fit in. But hey, when your premise is basic and your stories are simple, you've got plenty of leeway to build on other aspects. And We Bears is the ideal example of how to make your show entertaining through the 3 C's of cartoons: charm, characters, and comedy. The brothers have gradually evolved into my favorite animated trio next to the Crystal Gems. They all have vibrant and colorful personalities that work off each other beautifully. Grizz with his infectious optimism and dedication to his little bros, Panda with his cute shyness and social media obsession, Ice Bear doing whatever Ice Bear's doing that week, and their motivations are down-to-earth and relatable desires that anybody can get behind, like finding a girlfriend, wanting to become internet famous, wanting to be friends with someone, or just wanting to be a part of something. After a while, I was happy to follow these three anywhere, even if the story wasn't super interesting, and that takes some real talent. The comedy for the most part is spot on, with jokes based on relatable slice-of-life situations, the bears being themselves, and surprisingly enough, the clever usage of internet trends. Considering how other shows and movies have tried and failed to be trendy, We Bears could have easily face-planted straight into the pavement and never recovered. But instead of just throwing a reference in your face and calling that a joke, We Bears uses the reference as a foundation and continues to build on it to make it even funnier. I mean, a scene could just start off as a reference to that cat being scared of cucumbers video and end with Panda in a cucumber costume being yeeted out a window and winding up in a hospital bed. You can't make this up. So obviously I hold this show in a really high regard, and while I don't have many friends who share the same feelings, I still think the Bears deserve more reviewers in their corner. So I shall be one of the chosen few, by reviewing every episode of every season in 10 words or less. Odds are I won't get through all of them before the movie, but as always, I'm gonna do the best I can. And we'll start off with the simplistic but surprisingly fun first season. You know the drill by now, 10 words or less, rating from 1 to 10, you can leave your own list in the comments below, yada yada yada. I've already wasted enough time, so let's just get to the point, shall we? Let's see how our favorite bear brothers first began, cause it's time for every episode of We Bears Season 1 reviewed in 10 words or less. Buckets! FBI! Also known as Funny Bear Insanity. 50 million views? 500 likes? 0 dislikes? Not realistic.
Don't feed the wildlife, or they'll feed on you.
Someone's been eating my porridge and reading my manga. Panda gets bro-blocked for 11 minutes. A good test to see which bear is your favorite.
Never a story of more woe than Grizz and Burrito.
'Twas sweet potato fries that tamed the savage beast. This one's good and it's worth a watch, boy. So, no one gave Ice Bear a thank you? Seriously? Shush Ninjas, the ultimate showdown. Coming soon to...
Coming soon to theaters.
Chloe watches Adventure Time, and BMO's her mom. I approve. Ugh, that hug at the end was so awkward. The climax is a game of wolf-bear Jenga? Awesome. Emotionally gripping and cinematic. 2 things I did not expect. A clever use of internet trends? Protect this endangered species. I think my liver just got a cavity. Ice Bear has crabs, in the literal sense. The bears just want to be a part of something. Totally relatable. People are scared of that snake? I think it's adorable. Hey, it's We Bears! Get it? Anyone? Cute pet shenanigans, with a pretty rushed ending. Quite the adorable duo. I'm glad they used it more.
Icing Bear will haunt my dreams forever.
Hibernation. The worst time to be an insomniac. And Charlie was never this unlikable again. Thank God. Now, normally this is where I'd crank out the usual top 3 and bottom 3 episodes of the season, but the trouble with doing a bottom 3 for We Bear Bears is that the bad episodes are usually just bad in the exact same ways. I mean, if you look at the lesser episodes of Season 1, like Panda's Date, Charlie, Charlie Ball, and Emergency, they all suffer from the same basic problems. Stuff like a bland, predictable plot, repetitive, unfunny humor, or just lack of humor, and the occasional annoying character. And honestly, if I did a bottom 3 for this season, I'd mostly just be repeating myself 3 times over, and I don't want to waste any more of your time here. So I'm just gonna skip out on the bottom 3 for most of the bear lists. But I promise that if a truly bad episode does eventually show up at some point, I will give it a full analysis. But for now, enjoy some pre-top 3 honorable mentions to compensate. Chloe, an adorable story about the bears gaining their first human friend and the show gaining its first recurring side character. Chloe herself is both fun and interesting, Rain Cloud Chill is my favorite song in the show, and the computer presentation that the bears put together is pure comedy gold. They might stick out like sore thumbs in their respective environments, but it's nice to see sore thumbs sticking together. Hibernation, the first of many clever uses of the bear species to tell an interesting story. The subtle characterization of the brothers without dialogue is spot on, the change in art style when they enter the children's book is creative, and the ending where they all hug under the stars is just precious. Also, if Grizz is not gonna hibernate, he better hit the treadmill. Toad Life. The bears finally get the opportunity to feel like a part of something, so they take it and run. In fact, they run so far that they end up turning their home into a swamp of reusable bags by the end. In all seriousness though, this is a clever and funny episode that makes me relate to the bears outsider situation more than ever. And Our Stuff. This used to be my favorite episode, and while it slipped down a few spots with time, I still love it. As a good pilot should do, it perfectly introduces the audience to the personalities of the bears and the bond they share. The comedy is spot on, with various bystanders acting as straight men to the bears' shenanigans, and the ending where we find out who actually stole their stuff is just fantastic. Definitely give this one a watch. Alrighty, let's move on to the real deal. Number 3 best, Shush Ninjas.
Everybody knows ninjas as the quiet killers, finishing off enemies while stealthily sneaking around in silence. But what if instead of defeating enemies in silence, they defeated them with silence? That is where our story begins.
So yeah, having the bears be ninjas on its own already sounds like a funny concept, but when you adapt that concept to a modern suburban setting and have the ninjas use shushing to fight off rowdy moviegoers, you get something that's twice as funny and twice as memorable. What we have here is basically a satire of a cheesy martial arts movie, with all the classic charm and cliches that come with it. We have the wise old man talking about when cinema was a treasured pastime, and giving our heroes the tools and training they need to restore the peace. We have the unbeatable, dangerous final challenge that can only be completed with an outside-of-the-box solution. And of course, when the bears fail in their mission, they retire to their quiet space, which is just a public library. Putting a modern-day twist on all these classic tropes makes for an episode that's both a tasteful homage and its own original thing. And if the premise alone didn't already make you laugh, there are plenty of hilarious gags that take full advantage of the bears' personalities. Grizz taking his job to the extreme and shushing even the slightest of sounds, Panda taking a break from his duties to watch his world's version of Twilight, and Ice Bear silently tracking down a cell phone, accented by Spanish action music. All the brothers get a chance to shine here, both in the character and comedy departments. And that's not all. If you're up for a little Easter egg hunt, keep an eye out for some of the hidden references to famous films, like Not Alive, Really, Really Fast, and the science fiction blockbuster Space Conflict, soon to be airing on Quizny Plus. I don't know, just a nice little tidbit for big fans of film like me. And speaking of film, there's actually a surprisingly potent speech at the end about the impact of movies as a whole. How the world of cinema opens up doors to new worlds, takes us on grand adventures, and creates characters that we relate to on multiple levels. They even animate the bears into scenes from iconic films, like Rocky, North by Northwest, Sound of Music, and Singing in the Rain. It's the last thing I expected to see in a We Bear Bears episode, but I absolutely adored it. And I kind of feel bad that the kids fell asleep halfway through. You guys don't know what you missed. If you want a good example of how charming and creative early We Bear Bears could be, then allow this episode to show you a good time. Number 2 best, The Road. As the wise sage SpongeBob once said, to have fun, all you need is a box and imagination. Well, what about a warehouse full of boxes and 3 imaginations? How much fun would that be? Enough to be my second favorite of the season, that's for sure. While I can't say that I like the baby bears as much as the adult bears, I can't deny that every episode starring these little munchkins comes with a heaping helping of adorableness. And The Road is about as perfect a premise for a baby bears episode as you can get, giving them a giant box-filled playground and telling them to go nuts and build whatever they want. This not only makes for some creative imagery and great visual humor, but it gives each baby a chance to shine, and allows the audience to fully see what they're like as characters. What kind of house would they make? What kind of features would they add? What are they like when they're angry? What are they like when they're sad? Even what they're like during a crisis situation. In fact, if this was used as the first episode of that Baby Bears spin-off I've been hearing about, this could be considered the perfect pilot. Another thing I love about this episode, while it does have a paper-thin plot with the babies just being trapped in a warehouse, it uses this to its advantage. With We Bear Bears mostly being a slice-of-life comedy, the plot can be seen as a box. A simple, empty container meant to carry the more interesting stuff. The lesser episodes put barely anything inside, seal it up early, and still charge the same shipping price. But the best episodes, like this one, fill up that empty box to the brim with hilarious, fun, and memorable moments. Great jokes like Baby Ice Bear apologizing with a singing bass because he doesn't speak. Awesome action scenes, like saving a boxed up panda from a moving conveyor belt. Some harsh touches of realism, like a seemingly friendly guy stealing from the bears overnight. A sweet little song that isn't sung very well but is jam-packed with great imagery and emotion. And of course, cuteness everywhere. While not the best episode of the season, it definitely made the most out of its runtime, doing all it can to warm you up to the baby bears, and I can say that it definitely worked wonders on me. Though I am disappointed that nobody thought to add a boxing ring to their clubhouse. Or what about a sandbox? Come on guys, that was practically gift wrapped for you. You gotta think outside the box. Okay, I'll stop. I gotta wrap this up anyway. And the #1 best episode of We Bear Bears Season 1 is Occupy Bears. This is without question one of the most underrated episodes of We Bear Bears ever. It manages to weave in genuine, impactful emotion while still keeping the laughs plentiful and the story interesting. Not to mention taking a surprisingly cinematic approach with certain things like transitions, music, and calm, quiet moments. Similar to how the bears first see the beauty in their cave when the sun rises, I think this episode can help people see that there's more to this show than meets the eye. The story is split up into 2 portions, both of which get equal time to breathe. The main plot involves the bears trying to save their home from being destroyed by looking for proof of ownership. And there's some really effective tension on display here, as they desperately search through their stuff while the house slowly gets destroyed around them. They never go full-on drama, as there's still plenty of laughs to be had, but having the cave literally cave in makes for an excellent ticking timer. And the way the episode transitions into the flashbacks through the use of old memorabilia just flows so perfectly. As for the flashbacks themselves, they show off how the bears eventually moved into their home in the first place. It starts off very comedic with tons of house hunting shenanigans and funny gags, like Ice Bear just full body hugging an industrial strength fridge. But each time they cut back to the past, their situation gradually becomes more bleak and miserable. They slowly exhaust all their options until they eventually spend their last few bucks on a dream catcher and just wish for a new home to live in. And this is probably the main factor that makes me like this episode so much. If Toad Life made me sympathize with the bears as outcasts, this made me admire the bears as a family and a unit. They each make sure that both of their bros get a chance with the dream catcher, because the perfect home wouldn't be perfect unless all 3 of them were happy. When they take shelter in the cave for the first time, it's clear that they're all really uncomfortable, but they're able to stave it off for one night by huddling together for warmth and security. It's a great way to show that even after losing everything, they'll always have each other. And as someone who is all about family, this just gave me the best kind of warm fuzzies. I'm not saying that We Bear Bears is some kind of landmark of Western animation or anything, but it's still very charming and well made. And Occupy Bears is one of those episodes that really makes me happy that I'm giving this show some much needed praise. It's emotionally sound, comedically solid, beautifully paced, and very well written. If the bears never really piqued your interest before, I say give this one and the other ones I mentioned a try. It might change your mind. But in the meantime, Occupy Bears is easily my favorite episode of Season 1. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Tell me what your favorite episodes of this season were, and subscribe for more We Bear Bears and cartoon content coming soon. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you all real soon.